A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose, by Eckhart Tolle. Introduction. Imagine, for a moment, a woman sitting on a busy subway train. The car is packed, but the seats on either side of her are strangely empty. She's in her early 30s, and she's talking to herself, not in a whisper, but in a loud, angry voice. Her head is tilted as if she's arguing with someone sitting right next to her, in that empty seat. Her monologue is a loop of accusations and self-defense. And then she said to me. So I said to her, "You are a liar. How dare you accuse me? When you are the one who has always taken advantage of me." She is so completely lost in this imaginary battle that she is oblivious to the world around her, to the dozens of people trying not to stare. Now, a young university student is watching her. He's a bit shocked, a bit fascinated. He sees her as, well, insane. He even follows her for a little while after they get off at the same stop, watching this woman walk down the street, still trapped in her furious, invisible argument. Later that day, the student is in the men's room, washing his hands, and he thinks to himself, I hope I don't end up like her. But then, a wave of shock washes over him. He realizes he didn't just think those words. He'd mumbled them out loud. In that moment, a profound and terrifying realization dawns on him. Oh my God, he thinks, I'm already like her. Wasn't his mind just as active, just as incessant? The only real difference was that her thoughts were spilling out into the world, while his were trapped inside his head. Hers were fueled by anger, his, by a constant, humming anxiety. If she was mad, then wasn't everyone? Wasn't he? That young student was Eckhart Tolle, and that moment of seeing himself in this distressed woman was one of the first cracks in the foundation of his old life. It was a glimpse into a universal human condition, a kind of madness that we've all come to accept as normal. That is the journey we are going on today, guided by his incredible book, A New Earth. This isn't just a book. For millions, it has been a mirror. A mirror that shows us the frantic, fearful voice in our heads is not who we are. Since its release, it has sold over 5 million copies in North America alone, and has been a guiding light for people from all walks of life, from media titans like Oprah Winfrey, to quiet seekers in every corner of the globe. Eckhart Tolle himself is a fascinating figure. He wasn't a guru from birth. He was a brilliant academic who, by his late 20s, was drowning in a sea of anxiety and suicidal depression. One night, at the absolute rock bottom of his despair, he had a profound awakening that changed everything. That experience is the heart of his teachings. So my promise to you today is this: by the end of our journey, you will understand the single greatest source of suffering in your life. It's not your circumstances, not your relationships, not your job. It's something much closer to home. And more importantly, you will understand the simple, profound key to unlocking a life of peace, purpose, and genuine freedom. We're going to explore the blueprint of the human ego, and discover the path to awakening to who you truly are. Book summary. Let's start with a question that seems simple, but is actually one of the most profound you can ever ask yourself. Who are you? If you're like most people, you might answer with your name, your job, your story. I'm a student. I'm a son. I'm an artist. You might talk about your past, your successes, your failures, the things that happened to you that define your story. But Eckhart Tolle asks us to consider a radical idea. What if all of that isn't you? What if it's just a collection of thoughts, memories, and labels that you've mistaken for yourself? He calls this false self the ego. Now, the word ego gets thrown around a lot. We often think of it as arrogance or an inflated sense of self-importance. But Tolle's definition is much deeper and far more universal. The ego, he says, is the unobserved mind. It's that incessant voice in your head that never, ever stops talking. It's the narrator of your life, the one who comments, speculates, judges, compares, complains, and worries. Think about that woman on the subway. She was completely possessed by that voice. But Tolle's shocking realization was that we all are, just to different degrees. Most of us just have the volume turned down. We're sleepwalking through life, trapped in old, repetitive thought patterns that continuously recreate the same reality, the same fears, the same conflicts. This egoic mind, this voice in the head, came into being when we made a fundamental error. We began to identify with our thoughts. The thought "I think" became fused with the feeling "I am." We mistook the stream of thinking for our very essence. And once that happened, the ego needed to strengthen its sense of I. How did it do that? By identifying with things outside of itself. This process starts in childhood. A child learns that a sound, their name, is who they are. Then, they learn the word my toy. When that toy breaks, the suffering is intense. Not because the toy itself was so valuable, but because the idea of my had been violated. The toy had become a part of their identity. As we grow up, this just gets more sophisticated. My toy becomes my car, my house, my clothes. It becomes my body, which we judge as beautiful or ugly, strong or weak. It becomes my beliefs, my opinions, my political party, my religion. The ego tries to find itself in things, but it's a game it can never win. It ends up losing itself in them. This is the engine that drives our consumer society. The advertising industry knows this perfectly. They aren't just selling you a product, they're selling you an identity enhancer. They promise that this car, this watch, this designer label will add something to you, make you more. But the satisfaction is always short-lived. Because no thing can ever truly complete you. The feeling of not enough always returns, and so you keep buying, keep consuming, always seeking the next thing that will finally make you feel whole. Tolle tells a powerful story about a woman he was counseling who was dying of cancer. One day, he arrived to find her in a state of extreme distress. Her diamond ring, a precious family heirloom, was missing. She was sure it had been stolen. She was filled with anger and bitterness. Instead of telling her what to do, Tolle asked her a series of questions. "Do you realize," he asked gently, "that you will have to let go of the ring at some point, perhaps quite soon? Will you become less when you let go of it? Has who you are become diminished by the loss?" After a few minutes of silence, the woman's face softened. A smile appeared. "This time," she said, "I tried to feel rather than think the answer. And suddenly I could feel my I amness. If I can feel the I am so strongly, then who I am hasn't been diminished at all." She had discovered something profound. The ring wasn't the problem. The suffering came from the thought that a part of I was in the ring. When she let go of that identification, she found something infinitely more precious, the deep, peaceful sense of her own being, the I am that exists before any story or possession. She discovered the joy of being, which is the only true happiness. The ego doesn't just identify with things, its very structure is built on separation and conflict. To uphold the thought of I, it needs the opposite thought of the other, and the other is most other when I see them as my enemy. This is where complaining comes in. Complaining is one of the ego's favorite strategies for strengthening itself. Every complaint is a little story the mind creates that you completely believe in. And in that story, you are implicitly right, and the person or situation you're complaining about is wrong. There is nothing that strengthens the ego more than being right. Think about it. When you complain about the traffic, or your boss, or the political situation, you place yourself in a position of imagined moral superiority. I know how things should be, and they are not that way. This feeling of being bigger, superior, is what the ego thrives on. This escalates into fault-finding, name-calling, and resentment. Resentment is the emotion that goes with complaining, and it adds even more energy to the ego. You resent what someone did, what they said, what they failed to do. The ego loves it. Instead of overlooking the unconsciousness in others, you make it their entire identity. He is dishonest. She is lazy. You've trapped them in a label, and in doing so, you've strengthened your own sense of being right and good. What's fascinating is that the egoic patterns you react to most strongly in others are often the very same patterns that exist in you, but that you are unwilling or unable to see. In that sense, Tolle says, you have much to learn from your enemies. What is it in them that you find most upsetting? Their selfishness? Their need for control? Whatever you resent in another is also in you. But it's not personal. It's just a form of the collective human dysfunction. It has nothing to do with who they are, and it has nothing to do with who you are. This is why Jesus said, "Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye?" The answer is simple: because condemning another makes me feel superior. The ego's greatest enemy of all, however, is the present moment. The ego can't survive in the now. Its entire existence depends on psychological time. It lives in the past, which it uses for its identity, my story, and it lives in the future, which it uses for its fulfillment or salvation. When I get X, then I'll be happy. The ego perceives the present moment in one of three dysfunctional ways: as a means to an end, as an obstacle, or as an enemy. For most people, most of the time, the now is just a means to an end. It's a stepping stone to a future moment that is perceived as more important. You're always busy trying to get somewhere else, so you're never fully where you are. When this pattern gets stronger, the present moment is seen as an obstacle. This is where impatience, frustration, and stress come from. You're stuck in a traffic jam, and all you can think about is getting to your destination. The now becomes a problem to be overcome. And at its worst, the ego treats the present moment as an enemy. This is when you hate what you are doing, when you complain and curse what is happening. You are in a state of inner resistance to what is, and you are making life itself your enemy. So, what is the alternative? How do we break free from this prison of the mind? The answer is not to fight the ego. You cannot fight against darkness. The light of consciousness is all that is necessary. The beginning of freedom is the recognition that the voice in your head is not who you are. The moment you start observing the thinker, a new dimension of consciousness emerges. You become the awareness behind the thought. You become the witness. Tolle calls this state presence. Presence is consciousness without thought. It is the space in which thoughts and emotions happen. When you are present, you are no longer possessed by the mind. Thinking becomes a tool that you can use, rather than a master that uses you. This first glimpse of awareness, this separation of thinking and awareness, is the beginning of awakening. For most people, it's not a single event but a gradual process. It might begin when you suddenly notice your own habitual negative thoughts. For a moment, you are not the thought, you are the one aware of the thought. This brings us to one of Tolle's most powerful concepts, the pain body. If the ego is the dysfunction of the mind, the pain body is the dysfunction of our emotions. It is a field of accumulated old emotional pain that lives in almost every human being. Every strong negative emotion that is not fully faced and dissolved leaves behind a remnant of pain. This pain from our childhood, from our adolescence, from our adult lives, merges together to form an energy entity, a semi-autonomous being made of emotion that lives inside us. This pain body has its own primitive intelligence, like a cunning animal, and its primary goal is survival. And what does it feed on? More pain. It feeds on energy that has a similar frequency. It thrives on negative thinking, personal drama, and unhappiness. The pain body, Tolle says, is an addiction to unhappiness. Most of the time, the pain body is dormant. But when it gets hungry, it awakens to feed. It can be triggered by a simple thought, a casual remark, or it can feed on your own negative thoughts. Suddenly, a wave of dark emotion, anger, anxiety, sadness, washes over you. Your thinking becomes deeply negative. The voice in your head starts telling sad or angry stories about your life. At that point, the pain body has taken you over. It is living through you, pretending to be you. And to the pain body, pain is pleasure. It eagerly devours every negative thought. It also loves to feed on drama in relationships. It knows your partner's weakest points and will push those buttons to provoke a reaction. It wants to awaken your partner's pain body so the two can feed on each other's negative energy. This is why many relationships go through destructive cycles of fighting followed by making up. It's the pain body's feeding. Breaking free from the pain body begins with the same principle as breaking free from the ego, awareness. When you feel that influx of negative emotion, you must stay present enough to notice it for what it is. You say to yourself, the pain body is active. You feel it as an energy field inside you, but you don't identify with it. You don't feed it with negative thoughts. You don't let it become the unhappy me. Your conscious presence breaks the link between the pain body and your thinking. The energy that was trapped in it can then be transmuted into consciousness. In this way, your pain becomes your fuel for awakening. This, Tolle suggests, is why many of the wisest people on our planet once had a very heavy pain body. Their acute suffering forced them to awaken. As you become more present, you begin to discover what Tolle calls inner space. This is the stillness, the silent awareness that lies behind the noise of your mind. It is the formless dimension of consciousness itself. A beautiful Sufi story illustrates this perfectly. A king was constantly tormented by swings between happiness and despair. He asked a wise man for something that would bring him balance and serenity. The wise man returned with a simple gold ring. The inscription on it read, "This too will pass." Those words are a powerful pointer. They remind us of the impermanence of all forms, both good and bad. When you recognize that every situation is fleeting, you stop clinging to the good and resisting the bad. A detachment arises. And with that detachment, inner space opens up. You realize that you are not the fleeting forms of your life, you are the space in which they happen. You are the consciousness that witnesses it all. This brings us to the ultimate purpose of your life. Tolle says that your life has two purposes, an inner purpose and an outer purpose. Your outer purpose is what you do in the world. It involves future goals and achieving things in the dimension of time. It changes throughout your life. It might be raising a family, building a career, mastering a skill. But your inner purpose is primary. It is to awaken. It is to align yourself with the present moment and allow the light of consciousness to shine through you into this world. The mistake we make is to believe that our purpose lies only in the outer dimension. We chase after future goals, believing that when we achieve them, we will finally be fulfilled. But any fulfillment found on the level of form is temporary and unstable. It will be destroyed by time. The key is to align your outer purpose with your inner purpose. This means that your main focus is no longer the future goal, but the quality of consciousness you bring to the step you are taking right now. The doing becomes a vehicle for being. Tolle describes three modalities of awakened doing, three ways to bring consciousness into your actions: acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. Acceptance is for situations you cannot enjoy. You have a flat tire in the pouring rain. You can't enjoy it. But you can accept it. You can say, "For now, this is what is required of me." You do it willingly, without inner resistance. In that state of peace, a new energy flows into what you do. Enjoyment is the next level. When you are fully present in an activity, and it's not just a means to an end, a sense of aliveness flows into it. This isn't the joy from what you do. It's the joy of being flowing into what you do. This is the state where true creativity and quality arise. Enthusiasm is enjoyment with the added element of a goal or a vision you are working toward. The word enthusiasm comes from the Greek entheos, meaning in God. When you are fueled by enthusiasm, you tap into the creative power of the universe. You feel an enormous intensity, but it's not stressful. Stress happens when the ego returns, when you want to get to the goal more than you enjoy the journey. Enthusiasm, on the other hand, is non-confrontational and inclusive. It doesn't create winners and losers. When your actions arise from one of these three states, you are no longer just a person doing things. You become an opening through which the consciousness of the universe acts. You are a conscious participant in the creation of a new earth. So, what is this new earth? It is not a utopian future where all our problems are solved. All utopian visions are traps of the mind, looking to the future for salvation. The new earth is the outer reflection of a new heaven. And the new heaven is the awakened consciousness that is arising within you, right now. It's not a future event. It is the realization of presence. The end of the ego. The discovery of who you are beyond your name, your form, your story. The foundation for a new earth is built not by trying to change the world out there, but by taking responsibility for your own inner state at this moment. It begins with that simple, yet profoundly transformative shift, the moment you realize you are not the voice in your head, but the silent, spacious awareness that hears it. You are not the dream, you are the dreamer. And when you awaken within the dream, a more wondrous dream can arise. That is the new earth. Commentary. As we come to the end of our journey through a new earth, I find myself circling back to that simple, powerful realization Eckhart Tolle had all those years ago. I am already like her. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? To see that the seeds of the world's greatest problems, the anger, the division, the fear, exist right inside our own minds. Tolle's genius is not in giving us a complex system to follow, but in holding up a mirror so clear that we cannot help but see our own reflection in it. He shows us that the root of our suffering isn't some external enemy, but the unobserved, compulsive thinking that we've mistaken for our very identity. What I find most profound about this book is its radical simplicity. In a world that tells us to hustle, to achieve, to become more in order to be happy, Tolle offers the opposite advice. He tells us that peace is not found by adding anything to ourselves, but by letting go of who we are not. It's about becoming less, so we can be more. The message is liberating. It means you don't have to wait for your life to be perfect to find peace. You don't have to solve all your problems, achieve all your goals, or get everyone to like you. The only opportunity you have for being at peace is right now. By making peace with this moment, exactly as it is. This book is a deep, meditative dive into the nature of consciousness itself, but if I were to leave you with a few simple, practical ways to begin applying these ideas today, they would be these. First, just start noticing. Notice the voice in your head. You don't have to judge it, analyze it, or try to stop it. Just notice that it's there. The simple act of noticing is the beginning of freedom. The moment you are aware of the ego, you are no longer just the ego. You are the awareness observing it. Second, use your breath as an anchor to the present moment. Throughout your day, whenever you remember, take 1 or 2 conscious breaths. Feel the air flowing in and out of your body. This simple act pulls your attention away from the frantic noise of your mind and creates a gap of stillness, a moment of inner space. And third, try bringing one of the 3 modalities, acceptance, enjoyment, or enthusiasm, to one small activity today. Maybe you can't enjoy your commute, but can you bring a sense of willing acceptance to it? Maybe you find doing the dishes boring, but can you bring your full, present attention to the sensation of the warm water and the smell of the soap, and find a flicker of enjoyment in the aliveness of the moment? This is not about achieving a state of permanent bliss. It's about a continuous practice, a moment-to-moment choice to align with life, rather than resist it. That was our exploration of A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. We've journeyed through the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real magic happens when you walk the territory yourself. It's in those quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time and attention. If anything we've talked about today has touched something within you, I wholeheartedly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning new concepts, it's an experience that can genuinely shift the way you see yourself and the world around you. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know that this work is making a difference, and it ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.